Republicans want to bring back child labor to solve labor shortages due to their mass deportation campaigns. Florida Republicans are pushing for a bill that would loosen child labor laws in a desperate attempt to fill jobs left vacant by mass deportations. The proposed law, which will be debated this week, would allow children as young as 14 to work overnight shifts, something that is currently prohibited. If passed, the bill would give employers the right to schedule teenagers, some of whom are in middle school and high school, to work on school days, even late at night, without the current limits on work hours. Governor Ron DeSantis supports the bill. Of course he does, claiming that young people, including teenagers and college students, should fill the jobs that were left vacant by recently deported workers. He believes that requiring children to work these jobs is a solution to the state's labor shortage. Anybody with a brain, though, can see how this plan could exploit vulnerable children. Loosening child labor protections will only fuel inflation and create further labor shortages as workers are pushed into more difficult and unsafe jobs. Child labor laws were put into place to protect young workers from harmful conditions, but this new bill threatens to reverse those hard-fought-for protections. Florida has already made it easier for children to work in recent years. Last year, a law was passed allowing homeschooled teenagers to work at any hour of the day. The state has also made employers check the immigration status of their workers, leading to fines for those who don't comply. But as child labor violations rise, nearly tripling in recent years, Florida's plan to ease regulations is sacrificing the welfare of children for the sake of filling these jobs.
We're deporting immigrants, but they're the ones who pick the fruits and vegetables upon which the Florida economy depends. But I have a solution. We're changing the law so children can go to work in the fields. That's the end of an empire. That's what happens. And no one says boo. 14-year-olds will now be eligible to work until I think 9 at night. I mean, all kinds of things that the law forbade for children before. We're going to have child labor, and it's going to be good because you see, you can pay the children as little as you got away with paying those immigrants. Jesus Christ. How many symptoms do you want to see before you go to the doctor? How many things are you going to face before you realize you got a different problem than the one you thought you had?
Someone said America will do anything but pay people the amounts and the salaries that they deserve. America will do anything but make sure that the economy favors everyone. America will do anything but make sure that even the people who are not earning a lot live comfortably. Because how are you going to say that you're going to make kids go and work in their farms when people are complaining that immigrants are taking their jobs? Why don't those people take those jobs right now? Do you support kids working in farms, or is it a big no-no for you? Do you support this new law that is trying to be passed in Florida, or do you completely and utterly say a big no to this new law? I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'd like to interact with you in the comments. And before I give my commentaries and we go back to the videos, kindly do consider subscribing, sharing, and liking. And I'll see you shortly as I give my own opinion about this topic. See you shortly.
Why do we say we need to import foreigners, even import them illegally, when, teenagers used to work at these resorts? College students should be able to do this stuff. I just read a quote to you from Governor Ron DeSantis last week, saying the quiet part out loud. The quiet part being that we're somehow going to solve the current labor shortage that we have in Florida that was worsened with anti-immigrant rhetoric with child labor. For the record, we know that minors are already working these jobs, and that's okay with regulations. The problem is that we're getting rid of almost all of the regulations for so many of these minors. You look through the bill and you see that they are removing all restrictions on child labor for 14 and 15-year-olds who have graduated from high school, who have a diploma equivalent, or who are enrolled in homeschool or virtual school. So is it suddenly okay to force a 14 or 15-year-old to work overnight on a school night just because they're virtual school? Why does it make it okay if they're homeschool or virtual school? I don't think it does. We're also removing all of the child labor protections for 16 and 17-year-olds. It's right here in the bill. Line 18, we're striking out restrictions that say they can't work before 6:30 and after 11 p.m. when school is scheduled the following day. This bill is going to lead to exploitation of minors, exploitation of children. And I get the parental rights conversation. There's no reference to parental rights in the bill. There's no text that says it's the parent opting in to say that the employer can require this of the employee who is a minor.
America is officially in the pits. Florida is debating whether to lift child labor laws due to a job shortage due to all of the migrants that they have rounded up and shipped out of Florida.
You can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
There are things like child labor laws put into place to protect children from being overworked and to provide safety for children working jobs that they should not be working on. This bill would allow workers as young as 14 years old to work overnight shifts, even on school nights, because there is a job shortage in Florida right now. If this isn't Governor DeSantis' a fuck around and find out moment, I don't know what is. This just can't be what people voted for. This can't be what you thought. Yes, this is going to be for me. He's making the country great again, to allow children to work overnight. Because what kind of overnight jobs are there? Amazon, factory workers, stock rooms, children as young as 14. Florida has always been the underarm pit of America, but bro, this is fucking crazy.
We have some breaking news. In order to replace the workforce that they deported, Florida state legislators just advanced a bill that would allow children as young as 14 to work overnight shifts on school nights. Unfortunately, it doesn't just stop there, because they're advancing another bill that would make it to where they don't have to pay these children minimum wage for working their overnight shift on a school night. Oh, but wait, there's more. This bill would also eliminate the 30-minute meal breaks that these children are legally required to take after working 8 hours. Let's just talk about that for a minute. Florida only has around 53 workers for every 100 available jobs. So instead of accepting the labor and tax money from undocumented migrants, the Republicans think it's a better idea to have 14-year-olds working overnight shifts on school nights for less than minimum wage. That's genuinely fucking insane.
So now, Fox News is normalizing the fact that they want your kids to have summer jobs picking up fruits that could have been picked up by migrants that we decided to kick out because we didn't like their fucking skin color, like mine. Every time I say something and every time I read something and I post it and MAGA comes on, you're a fear-mongering and saying stupid shit like that, it ends up being true. So now here we are.
Wonderful.
Or
also,
maybe
allow children to do it as summer jobs. The idea that your government, that your precious government, doesn't allow children to work summer jobs in blueberry fields is just mind-blowing to me.
Well, it's very difficult work, by the way, and it's fine. I'm totally down with everything that you're saying. But the point is,
I'm not a libertarian.
For Americans to want to do these jobs, if it costs more, I'm okay with subsidizing that labor, because then I think we get more fruits and vegetables.
You should reward.
These people have no shame, and they told us what they wanted to do on Project 2025, and they're telling us now, loud and fucking clear, and we don't want to understand. Guess whose kids are going to be the ones picking up that fruit? It's going to be the 1%? You think it's going to be the people that make more than $250,000 a year? But your kids will. Anybody who's middle class and below, their kids are going to go for a summer job. Why? Because it's the poor that's going to go. And if you add up to that now it's more difficult to go to school, that it's more difficult to get a loan to go to school, that you can get Pell Grants, that you can get parent loans anymore, Parent Plus loans anymore. Guess what your kid's future is?
The fact that this is even being considered is a validating piece of evidence in favor of the labor theory of value. Something so universally looked down upon as child labor is valid under the profit motive. Just like in Victorian England during the Industrial Revolution, children are an optimal labor source. Not only are they much easier to control, you can pay them a lot less. And especially for menial jobs like fruit picking, that is hugely important. And while it's not like child labor isn't rife across the rest of the world, especially the global south, the fact that it's getting its way back into the first world is an indication of severe regression. Because of the constraints that the profit motive places on productive ventures, this outcome is almost inevitable. Cutting labor costs justifies layoffs as well as employing children.
I'm not sure why more people aren't talking about this, but Florida is making headlines again, and not in a good way. Lawmakers just advanced a bill that could let 14-year-olds work longer hours, even on school nights. 14, fresh out of middle school, still growing, and now possibly pulling late night shifts instead of studying and getting enough sleep. You see, supporters say that this is about giving parents and teens more freedom and helping businesses with their labor shortages. Why does that sound familiar? But let's call it what it is, child labor. If this passes, some teens could be working past 11 p.m. and clocking in more than 30 hours a week while still trying to keep up with schoolwork. Critics are saying that this whole thing isn't just about opportunity, it's a workaround for the fact that stricter immigration laws have left businesses struggling to find workers. Where does that sound familiar? So now instead of adults, we're looking at kids to fill these gaps. This bill has already cleared its first major vote and it's racing through the legislature. So if it becomes law, it could set a dangerous precedent for our state. What do you think? Are we giving teens valuable work experience, or is this just some type of exploitation with a different name?
Do you think the opinion of this creates a work ethic in children makes sense to you? Or do you just call it child labor? Because mind you, the work time is going to be the same for the kids as it was for the immigrants. And they're still going to get paid the same amount, if not lower, as the immigrants who used to work on those farms. And the person who was trying to emphasize and pass this law, he's called Governor DeSantis, said that this used to happen before. Kids used to work in their parents' farms. So why is it so different now when he raises this new law? And the biggest question is his kids, or are his kids going to work on those farms? Are his kids going to go in the farms and work the same as the kids of people who are getting a low income in the family? Or is he trying to make sure that the people who are coming, the kids who are coming from a low income community, a low income family, will work their backs off to make sure that they earn something good for their families? They're going to work overtime. They're going to not even appear in classes sometimes to make sure that they get enough money to support their families. Are his kids going to appear on those farms? I highly doubt it. And kids did work. They did work before in farms, and they are still working in different places. We have kids working in McDonald's, KFC, and different restaurants. And kids also work in farms, helping their dads and all this. But this is under the protections they are given by the law. For example, the times that they're supposed to be working at or in. They're supposed to be working from this time to this time. They're supposed to be at home from this time. There's curfew also for kids. So these laws do protect your kids from being taken advantage of. And in the comments, there was someone who was saying that even in China, the children from there are working. They do work in factories and they work everywhere, like in different sections in their country. And I just have one question. Just because something is working for another country, does it mean it has to work for your country as well? Because we do know that there are countries that don't even allow women to vote or have a say or even speak out or even show themselves the way my face is being shown. Their face are fully covered. They're not even allowed to be outside at certain times. Does that mean that because another country is doing something, your country should also do the same? It's working for them. Maybe they're okay with that, but does that mean you're okay with it just because someone else is doing it? And remember that these things are, maybe what you're supporting is that the kids that are working in these farms and learning work ethics are in their parents' farms. So if, mind you, these kids are not going to be working in their parents' farms. Not every parent has a farm. Not every parent has the farm that the kids are going to work in. So for the kids who are trying to earn an extra money for their families, they are going to be working under someone else's rules, times, regulations. So remember that. Remember that as you're making an opinion about this particular situation or this particular law that is trying to be passed. And they want to maintain the same amount they were paying immigrants. Literally, why the government, I feel like they're making this law come, or they want to make this law come into existence, is because they are really trying not to give funds to farmers. They are really trying to still make sure that the farmers don't earn as much, so that they can continue getting money for themselves. Because you remember that since Trump came in, he lessened the tax burdens on the rich people, and then increased on the normal incomes and low incomes. The people who are earning low incomes, their taxes are way higher than even the people who are earning billions per day. So the government is trying to do everything and anything, but make sure that the poor remain poor and the rich remain rich. Because if they actually wanted their people to prosper, they would add money, especially because now they have because of the ICE raids. They took back the immigrants and did all kinds of terrible things to immigrants who did not have the correct paperwork. They did what they did to those people. So they should now, because they're remaining with actual American citizens, shouldn't they be better to them? Shouldn't they make sure that their people, the American people, are actually living in good conditions? Their money is increasing. They're making sure that people want to actually work in farms and not neglect the farms where they're getting literally produce. Like, the government is doing anything and everything instead of giving money where money is supposed to be given to, because you can't live without food, especially in a country. You need food. That is the food and water. That is just the basic of the basic things. They said that immigrants are taking their jobs. There are people who said that immigrants are taking their jobs, and that's why there was this whole commotion and celebrations about immigrants being taken by ICE. Why aren't we working on those farms? Why are we letting kids, or allowing this conversation to even have space in the community? How is this conversation even being brought forward by members of parliament, by senators, by governors? How are we talking about this? People are complaining that their jobs were being taken by immigrants. Shouldn't they now occupy those jobs instead of sending their children to work on these particular places? So I'd like to hear what you have to say. Personally, for me, I feel like it's not the right way, in the right direction the country should be taking. I feel like the government has a lot of money to spend. There's a lot of revenue. So many people are paying taxes, and very, very expensive taxes. Taxes are taking more money from people than their basic needs, meaning that they should actually be living comfortably. The taxes should be paying back to them. They should be relaxing because they have paid taxes, but the taxes are working against the people who are paying them. I personally don't agree with what the government is trying to do. I don't agree with it, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. Do you support this, or do you feel like it's child labor and it's not right? Hopefully you have learned something from this video. If you did, learned something from this video, kindly do consider sharing, subscribing, and liking. I'd like to see you in the next video. Goodbye.